What is this movement that's stirring in me? Something's awakened. What can it be? Lying or standing or sitting in place. My head, my stomach, my chest, my face. Something has happened to ignite such a spark. It whirls and it fidgets and it really feels good. Balancing my energy, regenerating my cells, pulling and tugging, restoring me well. I guess I am chosen, as all of us are, if we would but notice and be who we are. No need to pretend that I'm something that I'm not, for God is expressing, and that is my love. Relax, relate, release, and be free. Acknowledge your existence, to live and to be. All that I am, whether different or same. Loving myself is the name of the game. Only then can I love others as well, forgiving them and listening to them and the stories they tell. I've researched and I figured it out to be the loving force of goddess energy. My divine mother awakened my kundalini back in 1998. And since that day, life has never been the same. For those who are accentuated in the power of Kundalini. Good morning, everybody. I made it through that. Today, as you can see, I am in Montgomery. I've been down here for a week now. And again, I find myself almost feeling like going around in circles, really, since receiving that bogus HIV diagnosis, looking for somewhere to fit in. But my parents are here, and so I'm happy to be back in Montgomery for a week. Now, I'll be leaving out on tomorrow back home in Atlanta. I have made some important decisions about selling my home. I've been talking to people and learning all about that. But selling my home in Douglasville, as Atlanta is not what it used to be. It has changed drastically due to the cloning and black eradication process. And I am not feeling safe there as well. Things didn't work out other than getting my book in the library and teaching a few classes. The graduate school mental health counseling thing did not work out. And so every month has been quite difficult just making ends meet. So selling the home, perhaps making money in equity according to the salesperson, and then using that money to relocate back here to my hometown. Which also has changed quite a lot. But you've seen me at my grandmother's home, And I've talked to some builders. They're going to come over and inspect, and I'm going to decide whether or not I should renovate that home. You know, I like watching those renovation shows on TV, and people bring back old homes to life all the time. In fact, the guy whose company owns a building company here was my football coach when I was in 1st and 2nd grade in Cub football. His family are very successful home builders here. So I called there. I spoke to his sister. And that conversation led to so many things. She said she and her father had been speaking about how much Montgomery was changing. You know, them building all around the city here and there. And I informed her about black eradication, my book, There Is No HIV, which I happen to have a copy here. The Rainbow Warrior, Exposing HIV Antibody Testing and the Metaphysics of Self-Healing through Chakra and Kundalini Awareness, Bibliography, Scholarship, Direct Lived Experience that I'm hoping you all will buy. I feel that my book should be on every shelf. It is a great conversation piece as well as resourceful information about self-healing. So, do get a copy of my book. But I was speaking to her about all those things, and she seemed so excited. You know, I talked to her about, you know, you leave your hometown and you move out and you want to see the world, and next thing you feel like you're going in circles, and then you always end up back at home. And so I am looking forward to redoing my grandmother's house and showing honor and love to her and that street, Cobb Street, which is where the Long Walk Home was filmed. You know, those houses back then, because black people didn't drive cars, they rode the bus. And so those houses are so close together, but they have huge backyards and very little driveway space. So talking to a builder about bringing that home up to date and making it something special to go along with the other people on that street who are also renovating their homes could be something very special. That area is right atop the downtown city of Montgomery. All roads lead down into downtown from that area. And I noticed just this morning a man was over there measuring the lines. So the reconstruction process is always going on. I remember when my dad was on the committee over there trying to stop them from putting an interstate through there, which completely tore up that side of town, and everything that has resulted since then. But they are redoing the downtown area. And here you can see, I'm right by the riverboat. This was not like that before. But they are putting in, just like in Atlanta and probably in every other city, new housing as they move back into the cities. Now, as you can hear, the train is coming down here. And I want to talk about that before I get into my presentation. If you can see there, the train is moving through all the way back here. Now, let's talk about Riverboat area in Montgomery, Alabama. Well, you know, I couldn't even get my mother to come with me today or ever to come to this area because as a child growing up here, she has some not so wonderful memories about what used to happen here. She said that she believed it was a place where they came and had slave auctions. And I also remember throughout the years, for instance, at graduation from high school, since I was one of the popular ones at school, I guess you'd say, with white people and black people, I was invited to a graduation on the riverboat, but I did not go. I did not go. Something in my spirit said, no, you don't need to participate in that. You know, you're integrated, you're fitting in and all of that. But all the things that I've learned since then about everything, you already know I'm just ready to leave this planet. And so I'm not taking shit from anybody. I'm not falling on the side of anything that is not about truth. So I want to make it back over here to my seat and go get my notes and continue this presentation and end it as soon as I can. It has been, just like every day, interesting to continue to learn and to study all things metaphysics and occult science and current events. to understand what's really going on in the world. And I happen to be one of those people who thrive on being one who does. So I'm looking down quickly at my notes here. I want to talk quickly. You know, my dad was a historian, and he ended up being over supervision and instruction for social studies here in this city after being an assistant principal. So I was in my 30s, I think I've also mentioned to you all, when I looked on his bookshelf and saw Ivan Van Sertima's They Came Before Columbus, as well as The Souls of Black Folk. Now, that was in my 30s when I saw those books. You know, I was coming into consciousness, and since have read many, many books, studied many, many people, and learned who we really are, which is monstrous old chaos beings on this nightmare planet, rising back higher than ever before. And so I looked at my dad's bookshelf the other day after I, you know, cleaned the yard and their patio, getting ready for summer and spring and summer. And I decided to read a book, and I found this book, Other People's Children. And it brought back all types of memories. What's her name there? Lisa Nebthet. And I scanned it, read the contents and whatnot, and it just brought back memories of having been a teacher, you know, of mostly black students in what would be considered the hood. And just how the children do teach us, and it is important for any teacher to be able to relate to students where they are and begin teaching us more about our culture and our ancient past. And so this Irish lady here apparently was a teacher, and she experienced all kinds of difficulties. Now, upon observing her classroom, because so many of the black boys were being suspended, it was learned that she really did not have an understanding of who black people are. Now, this quote starts this book, and I want to share it as well as something else. And I'm doing this for a reason, so thank you for being patient and staying with me. It is a Khalil Gibran quote that opens her book, and it says, the book is called Other People's Children, Conflict in the Classroom. It says, while you are with us, you belong, not to us. For your souls dwell in a place of tomorrow, which we cannot visit, not even in dreams. Now that's by Khalil Gibran, and this lady chose this as the opener for her book. And for me, someone who studied as I am, and knowing what I know about monstrous souls and how a lot of times white people, even in their dreams, see us as monsters. So she perhaps, in her DNA, knows who black people and black children are as a teacher, and then experiences difficulty. So when we don't understand our children, we cannot reach them. And I have told you many times that children have returned here to teach us. But that Khalil Gibran was a poem my dad had placed on the wall in the bathroom. So every morning when I had to shower and use the bathroom to go to school, I read that poem, and it says this: if you bake bread with indifference, you bake a bitter bread that feeds but half a man's hunger. And if you grudge the crushing of the grapes, your grudge distills a poison in the wine. But if you sing though as angels in love, not the singing you muffle man's ears to the voice of the day and the voices of the night. Khalil Gibran, prophet. But anyway, I remember that. I probably didn't have it exactly correct, but that's how I remember it. And I used to contemplate that going to school every day, you know, to be in a good attitude around a multicultural group of people, knowing what I knew about this city and how horrific it was here for black people. In fact, I read an article in preparation for coming here to speak about the Riverboat, and it was saying how between the years of 1850-something and 1940-something, there were 4,400 and something lynchings of our people. Now, don't get me started, because I hadn't planned even to talk about this, but bogus HIV is modern-day lynching and murder and all the other things that we talk regularly about. But that's how I feel. I survived it. I'm alive. But my sexual freedom has been completely cut off and destroyed. Moving right along into my root chakra. Excuse me. I have dug in there so much, almost performing my own surgery with my own fingers, as well as the doxycycline, which I do have a refill that I will get when I get to Atlanta on tomorrow. But I have gotten all the way down to the core of where that thing is. I wish I could grip it so I could squeeze it and squeeze that fluid out of there and free myself and my ass from this incessant pain that I have been living in. And I'm determined to do that for as long as it takes. And so that's what's going on with that. I want to move along here. Again, the lady had lost some builders. I shouldn't have said their name, but she's happy. She says, you know, she's looking forward to having me back in Montgomery. Now, what I'm going to be doing going forward for work, I'm not sure. But, you know, my dad used to always say he was going to start a school one day. He never did that. But it seems that that's going to be the only way that I can reach people, because this is my passion. It is what I love. And I know that black children will respond when you're speaking to them on a level about who they are and empowering them. And if these public schools or whatever don't want to have me here, or whatever the situation is, I have got to find something to keep myself excited about being alive, because I have a lot to offer, just like you do. And then move this thing forward and create something new for myself and for my people and for my hometown, which I love. You know, every time I see people, even if it's a homeless person, I think to myself, that person probably was a pharaoh in another life. We have sacrificed and gone so low that we don't even know who we are. And that's not a good thing. So I can come back here and help teach that and make people feel good about themselves. You know, I've always been friendly to people. I don't care how you look, where you work, or none of that nonsense. I believe in empowering people and making them feel good about ourselves, because we are the baddest bitches that ever was on this goddamn planet. And we're going back to that. And everybody's in fear of that. Now, Bobby Hemming, moving right along. Above God. Above God, it's called. And it's Gnostic race, etc. You probably all have seen it. It's great to see all parts of that. So educational and inspiring about us and how we fell into these human bodies from the primal worlds, all about the Titans and the Great Mother and how she tricked the Daldabroth, and all about counterfeit spirits, which I found it interesting to recently learn that Bobby Hemming has said that 99% of black people have been inhabited by walk-ins and the influence of Idaldabroth and counterfeit spirits who know that we are higher beings of them, because the Great Mother put light inside us. And so, all your life, when things just haven't worked out, it's because of the counterfeit spirits, the archons that are around us, blocking manifestation of anything wonderful we might want to create. And then they give a few little people to make a little money and put them on TV and make you feel like everything, you know, is something good to be hoped for. But that's what Bobby Hemming talks about in his presentation. He talks about how Christianity was formed from the Hermetic ancient Coptic texts, which, when the Etruscans were emerging out of Kemet and civilizing the world, and then the battles ensued between the latter-day white Romans and Greeks, and how they stole things from all the temples, how they covered up temples of the Aswan Dam because of all the hieroglyphics and information in there. They still stole it and then adapted it to what they later, after the Egyptian Christianity, adapted it to their way and put all the power outside of ourselves. And so that's why we don't even know who we are up until now. And so we are getting back to that. And thank God for Bobby Hemming for keeping us abreast of all those things. The baddest teacher on this fucking planet, as far as I can tell. And I love him and all the master teachers. I want to make sure I say that, because I don't follow anybody. But I do believe that when the student is ready, the teacher does come. And you got to be willing and ready and to be open to read and study on your own. Period. Okay. Now, everything has been about keeping us from tapping into our melanin. I post a lot about water. I go get a lot of water. I drink a lot of water. I hope you're drinking a lot of water. And I hope you're studying. Bobby Hemming has said that when you study and you gain new knowledge, it increases your light. And if you are in the elite because you have achieved a certain level of education, you're going to be safe because Spirit is watching out for us. So we can continue to do this work and spend less time trying to educate people who don't want to be educated, wasting energy. Because even the ones for HIV who have been slain and murdered, they're all in a better place. We already know that. So the main focus is drinking water, loosening those packets of melanin, because melanin is what is everything. Melanin, dark matter consciousness, this black hole that we're in, etc. Let's see, what else here? Since I'm here down Montgomery at Martin Luther King, you know, I happened to walk in the room the other day on my dad, and he was watching some old presentation about Martin Luther King, civil rights movement, and that whole era, which incidentally I had noticed being at home watching TV. They're doing a lot of playing of that old stuff there. Now, when you're conscious and you know how to decode movies, and you know how they perform rituals and they manipulate energy and try to keep people in a certain consciousness or take you back to an old state of consciousness, I mentioned that to him, and he and I almost came to blows, because sometimes I guess people aren't in the mood to want to hear all this stuff. But, you know, that's the problem. When we don't want to accept truth, and it's just too much for us. We don't want to disturb our little world when everything we've been living has been a lie. I kind of unloaded for a minute, very briefly, and let him know who I am and what I'm about. And I'm not changing that for anybody, because Martin Luther King was a Jewish creation government agent that forwarded the civil rights movement. They wrote his speeches, and in the end, the civil rights movement benefited no one. But it did not benefit us. It benefited the gays, the Jews, and other people who have been put upon. But it didn't help black people. And here I am in my own city, seeing the economic state of the black people in this town, thinking of returning here with all the things that have been stripped with me just for being amazing and wonderful and Kundalini awakened, and someone who has the courage to get out and teach and inspire people to not fall for no bogus HIV or all these bogus diseases which are killing our people all around this planet. I'm not one to stand for that ever. I'll die, go to my grave, to my last breath, teaching truth that I've learned and that Spirit has revealed to me. And I want to thank Mama Nebthet for guiding, guarding, and protecting me and helping me create Nebthet's musical. If it weren't for that, I don't know what I'd do every day. But it is inspiring. I hope you all are watching it. I hope that you truly care about me and about yourself and about other people. We are divine, monstrous soul, chaos beings rising higher than ever before on this planet. And I am the conscious Dr. Rainbow Warrior, Dr. Damien Q. Laster, a.k.a. Kabir Amin Ra Anpu Asarset Harakti. Metaphysical science, the science of our ancestors. Have a good day. Goodbye.